I'm about to be off social media for longer than I've been in over a decade, and I can't wait. I'm deleting all of my social media for 30 days. Ever since I got my new phone this fall, I've noticed my screen time going up even more. Whereas it used to be around 3 or 4 hours a day, it's gotten up to about 5 or 6 hours a day now that I have my new phone. At first, I attributed it to just having a better phone, it being faster, it being newer, it being a novelty, but it's consistently stayed at those levels. I think with my phone being faster, with it working better on the apps that I used to use, I'm spending even more time on them. And I didn't even think that was possible. I've set time limits using the screen time feature on the iPhone, but I continually circumvent those. I've tried just mentally taking a step back, putting my phone in other places in the room, but inevitably, even if it works for a day or two here and there, I always come back to my phone. My phone fills all of my little break times. When I'm standing there waiting for the coffee to finish brewing, I'm on my phone. When I'm standing there waiting for food to finish cooking, I'm on my phone. When I'm between work or sitting in the car waiting somewhere, I'm on my phone. I've tried downloading books as a way to use that time kind of more productively, but ultimately, no matter what, without fail, I've found that my phone is the ultimate distraction in those times. And so at this point, I think the only way I'm going to overcome that urge to constantly just pull out my phone to distract myself is to delete social media. I imagine that I'll still pull out my phone a lot, especially at the beginning, and that I'll still go for those apps, but they just won't be there. And without those apps, I can't imagine what else I would be using my phone for other than to text people back occasionally, which I already do. Now, I'm not going into these 30 days with a lot of expectations. I don't expect to have a ton of extra time to all of a sudden become some productivity master to get so much more done than I've been getting done. My only goal is to cut this social media urge out of my life. My only goal is that in those small periods of distraction or those small times when I have a break, I don't look to my phone for distraction, but instead I just exist. Because I've realized I don't take enough time to just be at peace with life, to take a breath, to slow down in the middle of a busy day, to just look around, take in my surroundings, take stock of how I feel before moving on with the rest of my day. I mean, sure, I've tried to create a meditation habit at various points throughout my life, and that's kind of the same idea. But this is different in that it's mindfulness throughout my day. If I take that time I'm using on my phone and just replace it with something present, something mindful in my life, I expect that I'll feel a lot more calm and a lot more at peace throughout my day. And if I do find that I have extra time, of course, there's plenty of things to use it on. This is one of those things, for example. I love to make videos, but it's something I don't always have time to do between the responsibilities of life and my job. So if I have extra time, I intend to invest it in things that I'm passionate about. But again, that's not the goal nor the expectation of this experiment. And I expect it'll be hard, at least at first. I mean, it's been hard for me personally when I've tried to stop using my phone so much just through my own willpower. I mean, I just simply can't do it. So I expect the urges will still be there, and I'll probably try to find some way to fill them. I'll probably still pull out my phone a lot, at least at first, until I kind of get used to this new routine. And I don't think using my phone is a bad thing at all. In fact, smartphones are a great invention in that they allow us to communicate with people all across the US and all across the world. Most of my friends are halfway across the country, and the only way I can communicate with them is on FaceTime or through text. I'm incredibly thankful for the developments of modern technology. So that's why I say I'm taking a break from social media, from using my phone so much, instead of just completely shifting away from my phone. My goal is just to take control over this addiction to social media, this addiction to the constant dopamine of scrolling through a feed. After all, a lot of social media, at least for me, is not about connecting with friends. I do that in text or I do that in FaceTime, but when I'm on social media, I'm often looking at things that aren't actually from my friends. As I scroll through my Instagram feed, most of what I see is basketball highlights, posts from comedians I like, Star Wars content. It's all stuff that's entertainment. It's not about seeing stuff from my friends. And sure, entertainment is good and jokes are funny and humor is an important part of life. But I think those type of things are also the constant distractions, the constant dopamine hits that I'm looking for when I go to social media. And so my goal in taking this break is to take control of those urges. Instead of pulling out my phone instinctively, I'd like to pull out my phone intentionally when I have time to use it less often and more intentionally. So if I'm gonna watch basketball highlights on my phone, which is something I love to do because I love the sport, I want to intentionally watch basketball highlights. I want to use my phone for the purpose of watching basketball highlights. I want to sit there and watch it for a few minutes and then put my phone away instead of just constantly scrolling after I've watched a couple different highlights. And this experiment could fail. Again, I mentioned that I never really done anything like this in over a decade. I got my first iPod Touch when I was around 12 years old, and that was around the time I also got my first Facebook account. And since then, I've never taken a meaningful break from social media. In fact, I've only increased the number of social media apps I use. And so since I've never really taken a break from social media, I don't know how this is gonna go. At the end of 30 days, I might end up having completely failed, or I might find that it's not actually helpful and that social media wasn't the problem. It wasn't the reason I was distracted, and there's other things I need to work on. I just don't know because I don't know what my life looks like without social media. But that's the whole point of an experiment. It's to take a hypothesis that we think might be true, in this case, that social media is causing me to be more distracted, and to test it out to see if we can prove or disprove that hypothesis. So that's the goal of my experiment. And over these 30 days, I'll continue to journal, which is something I've always enjoyed doing and something I've continued to do, about how I feel, what I think about, what I've been using time for, if I feel more present. And at the end of 30 days, I'll come back here and I'll give it an update on how I feel, if the experiment was a success, and what my next steps forward are. If I'll be re-downloading social media, if it's something that I'm gonna be using more intentionally, or if I'm gonna be changing anything about my social media use going forward. Ultimately, I don't know what these next 30 days are gonna contain. And I don't think it's gonna be anything huge or life-changing, but I'm looking forward to those small things that I expect to get just a little more frequent, the small ways my life will just get a little bit better without this constant distraction, the constant noise of social media from my phone. So here's to the next 30 days.